Hey everyone, it's Julianne Meyer, your host of Own Your Wellness, and I'm excited to be here today. Happy Monday, everyone. In Southern California, it's absolutely beautiful and it's like 80 degrees outside, which is a little trippy considering it's February, but that's okay. Anyway, I do have a wonderful guest that I am so excited to speak with today, Dr. Tracy Brinkman, and I don't know a lot about her myself, but what I do know is that she is absolutely fabulous. She is somebody that we can all learn from, and I'm just excited to bring her on. So I'm going to do that right now. Hello, how are you?
I'm great, Julie. Nice to see you.
Good to see you too. You know what? I just want to hear a little bit about you, who you are, what you do, because I know about your bio and I've looked at your website, but you and I haven't had a chance to actually talk about this. So I am so pumped to know a little bit more about you and your wellness journey.
Great. So my wellness and health journey, I can go back as far as kind of being a little overweight as a kid. So it started then really struggling with that. And so I remember being on my first diet at age 13. I remember then also, struggling with self-worth and even depression and getting into a lot of I remember checking out self-help books at the library in college. So it was like, that's where the journey began, like just always looking for ways to kind of like, I guess, help myself. And it was just, trying everything. And I also then went on to become a doctor of naturopathy, which was beautiful art of, it's most similar to a chiropractor. A lot of people aren't familiar with naturopaths. And it was beautiful. I learned all about the body and how to heal the body. And then I was trained as a mastery facilitator of higher brain living, where I learned about consciousness and the brain and the mind and programming that. And so I have all of this knowledge under me, right? Like I know about the body, I know about herbs, I know about how to, fix body when it's in pain. I know how about consciousness, and it's like having all this knowledge, right?
Mm-hmm.
And not being that yourself. And I found myself, I have all this knowledge, and I find myself in 2018, I'm overweight and I'm just miserable. So what happened at that point is it really truly was the point that I transmuted anger. I really transmuted frustration and anger and said, enough's enough. Like I know what to do. So I got in the kitchen and I started cooking, and I went on whole food, plant-based diet where I ate whole foods, meaning foods that aren't processed, real food, and just started cooking. So I was self-taught that. So I just got into the kitchen, started cooking, and also working with my mind. I have all this knowledge of my mind. So started working with affirmations because the belief system behind it needed to, the enough is enough, that frustration also needed to continue on and forward so that I would continue with this, right? Like, I've started so many diets before and failed. This wasn't going to happen again. I wasn't going to fail myself. And so I just did what it took. Like, does it take, getting up and saying certain affirmations so that I can change my thoughts, so I can change my beliefs about myself? Yes. Did it take, like I said, the getting in the kitchen was the most important thing, because once I started to get those foods in my body, I started to feel better. And then when your body starts to feel better, you start to think better naturally. So I believe everything's a very holistic approach. It's not just the body. It's not just the mind. It's your relationships. It's your environment. It is all of that. And so that happened. Enough has happened. And I've lost over 100 pounds. I got off 2 medications that I was put on for life. And, I worked with my doctor to get off of that, the medical doctor. I learned a lot about all of these factors of like how to work with the doctor to wean off of medications. I learned how to make foods taste good, because I know from previous diets that when you eat the most plain foods, like steamed broccoli or, just like very basic, you don't stay on those diets. Like they're truly a diet. No. And so this became a whole lifestyle of like, how am I going to feed myself the foods I loved? So I did that. I did that in the kitchen. I learned how to make my favorite foods. And now I can make Thai that taste better. And the biggest part is like, I feel so amazing after eating it. I don't feel weighed down. I don't, I just have great energy and feel amazing. And it shows in everything. Yeah. So
No, I
that's been
love
my
that.
journey.
You touched on a few things that I absolutely adore. And one of them is that you shouldn't have to be tired and sleepy after you eat. There's a way to feel light and full at the same time. And it took me a long time to figure that out. And so I always appreciate it and love it when other people talk about that, because I know that I didn't even realize that was a possibility when I first started out on my own wellness journey. So thank you for mentioning that, because there is a way. And like you said before, just if it's super plain, then who wants it? I mean, you should enjoy. I mean, yes, food is fuel, but it's also the way that we connect with other humans. It's all sorts of things. So I just love that you mentioned that. That's pretty amazing. So tell us a little bit about what you're doing now with all of this knowledge and knowingness.
Yeah. So it's just, I've seen such amazing results with myself, and I know the science behind it. I learned, a lot of the pioneers out there in the whole food plant-based. I follow Dr. Greger, Dr. Fuhrman, all these doctors who have, shown studies and looked at the studies and said, hey, we don't have to have these diseases even exist, because we have the medicine to reverse and prevent them if we just do it, and we do it at the table. So what I'm doing now is I kept in the kitchen. I kept making fabulous foods. I learned how to make Indian curry from an old grandma of a family who didn't even speak English. And I sat down and I wrote down her recipes of like her traditional ways of cooking. And then I just tweaked them a little bit so that they were whole food, plant-based. And I just kept learning because I wanted it. It was like, I just want these great, yummy foods. And so then I started sharing it with people, and people started loving it as well. And I started seeing how they felt on it. And so I had the opportunity to come to Puerto Rico and cook healthy food for someone. And this fabulous man, like, not only was just overjoyed with how the food tastes, but his mind is clear. He feels so fantastic. We also shared the food with his elderly father, and he was suffering from all of these diseases. And just now he's going for walks. He looks 10 years younger. Like, it's bringing life back to people. And so I know that's the power in this food. And it's just taken me on this journey of, I didn't plan to like become this cook or chef, but it kind of became who I am. And I was watching this video, and it said, you're a chef when people start calling you that. And I was like, okay, I guess that's what I do, because now I just share my love for the food and the nutrition that I put in with other people. It tastes good. And it's also, I look at, what can I add to just add even a little bit more nutrition? How can I get a little bit more in there? And you can sneak in so many great things. You can sneak in a little turmeric. No one will ever even taste it. If you just put a little bit of this, a little bit of that into a big stew or anything, it's really cool how I've been able to do that. And then just add in more. I'm looking at more. It's more of an abundance mindset versus like, I can't have this. It's like, no, I can have that. In fact, I have self-trained where it's like, I'm looking at the foods in Puerto Rico, the traditional dishes, and I'm like, okay, so now how do I approach these dishes and get those flavors and get that to taste really good, but very, very, very healthy? So it's just been this wonderful exploration and just reaffirming everything that I've learned and known.
No, I love that. And, actually, there's something that I was thinking about when I first started on my own wellness journey. I watched a documentary called Super Juice Me. Have you ever seen that one?
Yes.
So I was just fascinated by the thought of all the nutrients in the juice and how, you could literally get off these medications if you just fed your body the right things. And that's exactly what you're talking about. But I ended up doing my own juice cleanse for 4 weeks. And there was an added benefit of some lost weight, but it was the way my relationship with food that changed that made it so amazing. And ever since then, I know what you mean. Like, you can sneak vegetables in things. You can sneak, different, like you said, turmeric. You can sneak all that stuff in and people don't even realize it. So I love that you're doing that. Do you have a favorite dish at the moment?
Yeah, I have a few because I'm someone who loves variety. So
Hmm.
I just made and shared a Thai quinoa salad. Went to the beach yesterday in Puerto Rico and shared it with strangers, and they were like, "This is so amazing!" So it's really cool. So yeah, so that one's a favorite. My Indian curries, I love that. Coconut cauliflower or
Hmm.
even dal. Dal's so like rich, and I love tacos. So lots of different taco dishes with mushrooms, with walnuts. You can actually make the walnuts very meaty tasting. So
Yeah.
yeah. So and then sun-dried tomatoes in that. There's so many to choose from. There's a pasta sauce that I make that is just fabulous. Yeah, so I don't know, like there's so many good ones, and I like to again like incorporate a lot of the different ones, but those are a few of the best.
Is this your website? Is that a good place for people to start looking at what you are offering?
Yeah, so they can go to the website and look for me there. I do have links to social media on that, and then
Mhm.
also you can find me on Facebook as well. And feel free, like, ask me questions. Like, I want to share this with everybody because it's. I mean, every person. It just I share it, and people are blown away that healthy food can taste so good. They really are, and to me, it's like yes, and it's also about the education of people don't really understand. And I didn't understand that people didn't know that how the power in food until I started sharing with different people. And then I was like, oh wow, I thought that was kind of known that you should eat healthy. And that's not even known. So it's just things like that just I'm here, just I'm a resource. I've learned so
Mhm.
much in the kitchen and out, and then also in just in all of it. Like not only am I cooking it with all of the nutrition in it, but I'm cooking it with a purpose. I cook
Mhm.
with love for food. Like I love to go grocery shopping and pick out the produce. I love to put the meal together. It's an art, and it's just such a beautiful thing to be able to share with people. Not only because they enjoy it at the moment, but to
Mhm.
share the education of what it's like to follow, a diet that or lifestyle really of really just
Mhm.
focusing continuously on putting in the best things into your body.
Well, I think another thing, well, you mentioned something that's interesting, and a lot of people who are experts don't really think about this. And I learned this from my business coach, and that was that, you know so much about this particular subject that you assume everybody knows even the basics. And so it's shocking when you realize that people don't actually know. I mean, not even doctors typically, because they're not taught to know that. I mean, it's not in their curriculum. So I just think that's it's such a good point that we have to take it back a step and be like, okay, now this is important and this is why, and this is what will happen if you do this. So somebody who's just starting out on their own wellness journey, and say like they want to go to a plant-based whole food plant-based diet, what do you recommend as a way to ease into that? Or do you think it's just cold turkey? I'm just going to go right into it. What have you found that works best for people?
I think first off, I think the trying of the food and seeing that I think when people think plant based, they're gonna think, oh, I'm just gonna eat salad because they so many meals are just meat and cheese, so they don't understand like, wait, what do I eat then? Do I just eat the piece of bread? And that's not healthy,
Mhm.
right? So it's really I really encourage people, first of all, like to have the right understanding of why. Like if
Mhm.
people don't understand why, then it doesn't even make sense. So a couple things I steer people to do is to watch the Game Changer movie, which talks about plant-based eating and athletes, and
Mhm.
it's very entertaining, but it's also very educational, and it's showing that how athletes are actually performing better through the plant-based diet. And then there's if people are interested in science, Forks Over Knives is a documentary that really explains the science of how we can reverse heart disease and the number one killer. We lose over 600,000 Americans every year to
Mhm.
that. That means over 1 million Americans die every 2 years from a disease that Dean Ornish published a study that whole food plant
Yeah.
based you can reverse. So it's just like that's where it's like this passion. There's people hurting right now that need to know that,
Mhm.
right? So that's the first step. Why? The second step is really just starting to cook some of these foods in the kitchen. It can be as simple as starting with some beans and rice. You know, people ask, the biggest question I get asked all the time is protein. Like, what about protein? Because when you go to the restaurant, they say, what do you want for your protein? And I'll say, I'll take vegetables or, you know, beans, but they mean the meat. And there's this connection that's where protein comes from. And really, where does protein come from? Protein comes from plants. Meat is just the middleman. It's the animal that eats the protein from the plant. So actually all the protein comes from plants. I'm just cutting out the middleman. So just a little bit of education on that. And then, you know, just show them I would show someone if they just want to do it themselves, to just get a couple of the good cookbooks out there. But what I do, it's so easy. If you want to make something that you love, start with the foods you love and make those. So what's the easiest one is going to be a marinara sauce. Look for one without oil. Add some vegetables to that, the ones you like. Do you like mushrooms? You know, like onions. Onions you can easily add. Garlic, fresh garlic, you know, add that in, saute it, and add it to the sauce. And then if you want, there's so many pastas available now. There's edamame pasta, there's lentil pasta, there's whole wheat pasta. You just don't want to do any of the whites. You want to have whole. So what whole means is you're going to do whole grain. Stay away from all the processed stuff, because when they process it, they're taking out all of the healing factors, the fiber, the phytonutrients, all of it that was meant for us to eat to have optimum health. So that would be the first teaching. Like, find some of the foods that you like and just tweak them a little bit. And you can go online and you can Google whole food plant-based and any recipe that you want, or WFPB, and whatever your favorite dish is. You could Google curry and see what comes up for you, or, you know, all of those. I make another dish that is really yummy and great is a veggie loaf, similar to a meatloaf. So that one's really good too. So there's different ways to make the foods that are your comfort foods. It's finding those that you really like and just making those adjustments. So that would be the first thing. And you know, sometimes people like to go on cleanses. I think it depends on the person for that. Like, are they going in, or do they just need to try it and slowly crowd out? So that would be a personality type. Some people are like, let's do a juice cleanse, and then from there, I'm going to eat this way, or, you know, different ways. But education first, know why you're going to do it. And then, yeah, there's really two routes there that I think work for the different people for the right reasons. And if someone's really sick, they really just need to do it.
Exactly.
So, yeah.
But yeah, I heard this disturbing statistic that only 1 in 7 people actually change their diet when the cardiologist tells them to, and it's a matter of life and death. And that was just, I mean, it makes sense to me, but it doesn't. I mean, we are so addicted to certain types of food, and it's made that way. So when you are eating, you know, plant-based and whole foods in general, you should be able to know what all the ingredients are. It shouldn't have to have a label with a million different things on it to describe what it is that you're eating. And, so that way you are eating real nutrients in food. Something that you talked about that I want to touch on is the whole protein thing. People always are talking about that. Have you by chance read the book Proteinaholic?
I have not read that one yet. No.
I think you would love it. I think you should read it. It's very, very good. But it's the same idea as what you mentioned before, but it just goes into depth. And, one of my favorite things to say is when people ask me, well, where do you get your protein? I say, I get my protein where your protein gets their protein. So, I mean, you can always have fun with it.
Yeah.
But there's one thing that I know that people who are looking at this right now are saying, and that is, oh, but it's so hard. Like, it's so hard to cook that way. So what I'm hearing you say is that it's not any harder than what you would traditionally make. You're just using different ingredients. Is that fair to say?
Yes and no. Like, so there's people who just there's people who cook already somewhat, right? So they can do that. But there's people who don't cook at all, who eat out. Now, what I've seen, and I know that there is meal delivery programs in the continental United States. So there's programs where you can get the food delivered to you and heat it up and have it that way. But what's really great is that the plant-based has really taken off. So it's just become easier and easier and easier to to get access to those type of foods. But the other thing is kind of like learning the tweaks about going in. And that's where, if anybody has questions about this, reach out to me, because this is where I can really help. Like when you go out to eat, like how to ask for your foods. And it doesn't have to be so picky. It's just really like, you can ask for things to be made dry. So now that it's not going to be made with oil, it's going to be made dry. And I had a fabulous, it was so delicious. I went to a sushi restaurant and they made Japanese fried rice without the oil, and they had tofu, and they had all these vegetables put in it, and it was really great. Like came back and ordered it again. So it's like, you can find those foods out, when you do want to enjoy it with other people. It's just knowing what to switch out. The other thing is really just taking charge of it. Like it's, yes, this is what I put in my body, and then make it fun too. Like I bring these things to my family functions, to parties, to all of that. I always am like, I'm bringing food, and it's enjoyed and loved. And so I think there's a lot to that. So it is a process, and everything is hard. If what's hard? Is it harder to prepare this food and eat it, or is it harder to have heart disease? Is it harder to weigh 100 pounds more and feel miserable, or is it harder to make some food? I think I'd rather make some food and feel great. And I go clothes shopping now, and it's like, I can't believe the difference in sizes that I look at. And it's like, so for so long throughout the weight loss process, it was like I had to try on 3 different sizes to see what I was anymore. So it was like, think of things like that, like which one's harder? Is it, it's choice. It's just choice every day. Do we want, choose your hard, right? It's which hard do you want? Do you want hard as in now you potentially will need to be on pills and medications and surgery and die prematurely? Or is it hard to take charge of it, take charge of your health and make the decisions? And there's, like I said, there's so many, it's so much easier now than it's ever been to really, really do that. And really look at, when you mentioned ingredients and labels. So the biggest thing is, like, it's so funny because, like, I think when we look at a label, the first thing you're seeing is all these numbers, and our body doesn't go and look at numbers and go, oh, what numbers did you eat right now? Your body doesn't know that. What it knows is the actual ingredient. So I skip over all of that and just suggest looking at what is actually in the food that you're eating. Is it does it say whole grain, or does it say, does it say just the wheat? Because that's not whole grain. And then, educating, it's about educating, trying to buy the best you can in every moment. But look at the ingredients and know that, like, you don't want food coloring in your diet. Like, why would you put that in your body? So it's like, okay, that's there. Or, you'll look for just different ingredients and things being processed, but also, staying away from preservatives and words that you don't know. So your body doesn't know it either. When it sees, it doesn't see the words, but it feels that in your body. When you put those substances in your body, it's going to take all of its energy to get that out. And it's going to take away from weight loss. It's going to take away from vital health, all that energy to remove these toxins from our body. So not only are you not putting nutrition in, but then when you put these substances in, you're causing harm to the body that now it has to take care of this problem that just got introduced. So that's the biggest thing with whole foods. And I'm such a proponent of, like, really, it's about getting that real whole food in your body and just as close to nature as you can, but also enjoy it. Like, put together all of these spices, and food can be so good, not just good for you, but it's our medicine. It's meant to be what gives us the energy we need. It's like it's building out every cell that you are. And what do you want your next cells to be? Do this Twinkie and start to look like that? Or do you want it to be, a vibrant fruit and vegetable,
Yeah,
no, way to look at it.
Yeah, no, I love that. That's very well said. And, you brought up an interesting point that's kind of, people don't think about things like food coloring. They're like, oh, it's just food coloring. Well, until you meet somebody like my dad who's allergic to yellow food dye, then you realize that it's a chemical. It's not something that is natural. So you do, your body's looking at it going, what's that? Do you want to hold on to it while it figures it out? Or do you want it to move through your system? So I'm glad that you mentioned that in particular, because people think, oh, that's not that big of a deal. But there is a sensitivity, and there is a reason why there is a sensitivity. So I'm glad that you brought that up, because people don't even think about like things as small as food coloring.
Exactly.
And the best part too is you don't have to count calories if you're eating real food, because you figure out when you're full, your body will tell you. And another thing that people don't seem to realize is that your taste buds change. Then once those cravings, you can get rid of those cravings, then, then everything tastes so much better, and you want those foods. It's not like you are giving up anything. It's you actually just don't want those things anymore. So I love that. We do have to go to commercial break, so we will be right back. Thank you so much, Tracy. It's been so much fun chatting with you so far. We'll be right back. Love her. Isn't she amazing? Oh my goodness. And the thing that I love too is just how passionate she is about food and health and wellness and well-being. And it's just an amazing, fun thing to see. And it just comes through on the screen. But as I mentioned, we do need to go to commercial break, so we're going to do that. But before I go, I do want to say hello to everybody who is watching us live on Facebook as well as YouTube. Thank you so much. It's always a pleasure to have you here. And we'll be right back after this commercial break. Hey everyone, we are back again, and I am so excited with the guest today because as I mentioned before, her passion just comes through, and that in itself is infectious. So let's bring her back on. Hello, welcome back.
Hey, Julie.
So glad to have you back again. So I just would love to hear a little bit about how it is that you ended up shedding that weight. I hate to use the term lose because you don't want to find it again. Not necessarily, I mean, you can go into details about how physically, but who did you have to become? Like, how did that change mentally? Because it's definitely an inner game before you can actually lose the weight outside. So if you wouldn't mind sharing a little bit about that, I would love to hear about it.
Yeah, I shared a little bit about like you reach a point where I got to this level of weight that I was just, that's not acceptable. So I think it started with that. And I think that every time that you start a diet, right? So that doesn't make it a lifestyle, that doesn't make it last long term. And so I knew that, and I've been in the personal growth and development field for quite a few years and knew the power of the mind. So there was quite a few things that I knew that, first of all, I think the first thing that we need to do to make any change that we want anywhere in our life is to really, truly, and wholly love ourselves to the point
Mm-hmm.
that we make that change. It's almost like you're grown up with your child self and saying, okay, we're doing this, and how can I love and support you? And
Mm-hmm.
so, yes, it's the most loving thing to do, to go and make the food, to learn what you want. And so it that gets passed around a lot, right? Like, love yourself. And so the first steps to some of that was to get my mindset, was really just shifting my belief. And to shift a belief is a thought that you just keep thinking. It's a habit
Mm-hmm.
of thought. And so to introduce a new thought pattern, again, I guess it's the same thing I did with the food. I just crowded out the bad thoughts with the good ones. So I started putting into my mind the good thoughts. So it was as simple as I would go for walks and just say the words, I love you, multiple times. You can hold your heart, say, I love you, I love you, I love you. I had a morning practice when I would wake up, and it would be the first thing that I could think of. It's try to
Mm-hmm.
think of, because you have your thoughts when you wake up. So it'd be like, okay, oh wait, no, I gotta say my I love yous. So that was a way that I started to have that naturally happen. Where this morning, I don't continue daily practices once it's embodied. This
Mm-hmm.
morning I woke up and I was like, I love me. Oh, I love my life. It was like, and those were the first thoughts that you have when you wake up. So that's when you point, like, okay, so that's been embodied. And so then you start to see other, levels of things that need to shift in your mindset, and then unworthiness can come through. That's a
Mm-hmm.
big one, I think, for a lot of us. I've just seen it with the work I've done, and it's kind of the human wound, is that we're just not good enough or unworthy. Lots of ways to think about that. And so it's just really, again, shifting that, and um, taking charge of it, but also doing it, I believe, in the most compassionate, loving way you can, because you have these thoughts, and then the first thing that we do, if we really listen to our mind, is beat ourselves up over having those thoughts. I think especially for the people who've been on these paths for a really long time, you're like, really, you really think that about yourself still? Like, you're still having that
Mm-hmm.
thought, like, can be really negative, right? So it's really recognizing that quicker too, like being more conscious and saying, oh gosh, there's those thoughts again, and returning it quickly to a different habit of choice, a different
Mm-hmm.
set of belief systems. So yes, there's like morning practices that are great to start with, to get that to be embodied. The other thing is, I really enjoy, when I mentioned saying the I love you, I walk, there's something to it that when you're doing something good for yourself, that you even like amplify it further with your thought
Mm-hmm.
patterns, your affirmations. Like, I love to combine things. I do it in my food, I do it in life. Like, I like to do a lot of things. So I would combine. When I started to lose the weight in the beginning, the only thing I was doing was a little bit of cardio. I really wasn't fit. So I was doing a little bit of cardio in the gym, and I would state, that is when I would start to state some affirmations while I was working out. And I would start to say, like, stronger and leaner. So like, as I'm on that elliptical, right? Like, everything
Uh-huh.
is like, okay, my body, I'm telling my body, I'm giving it direction. Like, okay, we're getting
Mm-hmm.
stronger, we're getting leaner, we're getting stronger, we're getting leaner. And it was kind of like I was my own little cheerleader, but I was also like, it was like directing my mind, my body, everything to be in alignment to where we're going.
Mm-hmm.
And not only that, there was a lot of, I do visualization, where it was looking at the mirror. And again, it's a love process, looking at your body, because when you're still haven't lost the weight, you're going to see, but you're going to start to notice little things. So looking for those little things as you're on the path. Oh my gosh, I
Mm-hmm.
see it in my face a little bit. Okay. No, the rest of it, you can maybe just, but start looking for those little things that are changing. And I start to look for the little things that are changing day to day, we get excited for that. And so then we get to the
Mm-hmm.
next level and to the next level. And so, yeah, I'm on this path. Like, it's not, this is a continual work of art. I love it. Like, there's just like, it's like, ooh, now what am I going to do and do next? And so, okay, so we started with the cardio, it definitely with the mindset. Then just this last summer, I started running, and biking on the outside, and I started Pilates. And for me, I looked at, what is the body type that I want to transform into? And so I looked at,
Mm-hmm.
oh, I want the body type of the dancer, the lean, the long, and powerful and balanced. And it was amazing. So I started Pilates on the reformer with the machine. I hands down believe this is like one of the best exercises, because it combines a lot of things in one. because you're using that weighted machine to do these motions in space. And in 3 weeks, I lost a whole inch off of my left thigh and 3/4 of an inch off my right, which means the left was bigger and they balanced out. So like, it was really cool. I do remember when I went to the studio, I had already set my mind of why I was going. Again, that why. I started with my why. This is why I'm doing it. And they asked me, what is the goal of Pilates for you? And I had 2 goals. I was feeling unbalanced when I run and I was having pain. So I was like, okay, I need to get balanced for that. Also, I wanted abs that like Janet Jackson had in her video, That's the Way Love Goes. So I was very specific about like how I wanted that. So when I'm doing this Pilates, it was so amazing. I had muscles, just muscles all around. And I say had because I've transferred to Puerto Rico and I'm in the process of looking for a new Pilates studio. So I just love, like, there's muscles that exist that like I didn't even know, you know, to have that feeling of that. So it was like, whoa, cool. So yeah, so it's just continually like having like a mindset of like, this is what I want. Okay. And then how do I shift my mind to get that? How do I shift my body to get that? What do I need to think and what do I need to do to achieve this vision that I have? So that's been the continual process. So it wasn't like, oh, I did this one thing. I just continually look for the next thing. Oh, okay. So now I want this on my, you know, like, it's just this work of art now. It's just beautiful. Life is art. It's just, and the food is art and all of it. It's just living at this level of creation. It's so amazing and beautiful.
Oh, wow. That's inspiring. I just love it. You know, something that you said that was very fascinating to me, and that was that once you embody something, then you move forward. And you know, a lot of people don't realize that. And I've never been able to verbalize it in that way. So thank you. You helped me with that one. But yeah, when, you know, once it's like second nature, then all of a sudden it's like, okay, you know, maybe there's, you know, on to the next, growing. And it's not, and I think what I'm hearing you say as well, and correct me if I'm wrong, but you're coming from a place of loving yourself, not I've got to fix this, as in there's something wrong. I mean, if you're not well, then of course you want to fix that. However, if it's a looks sort of a thing, and because as women, actually as men too, you know, we can sometimes get fixated on that. And if you're coming from a place of being broken, it's so much harder to get rid of that extra, whatever it is that you're trying to lose, because I don't know what it is about the mental connection, but there really is. There's a huge mental connection. I'm curious what your thoughts are about this. So when I started on my wellness journey, I wanted to become a deputy sheriff. Go figure. So weird to me now, but I was at 30% body fat and I could barely do push-ups, and I needed to be able to do 30 push-ups in 2 minutes, military style. And I wanted to be able to do all of them without stopping once. And I was up to, I don't know, like, I mean, I was able to do it finally, but the thing that was interesting to me, and I don't know what this is, or if you see this fairly often or not with people, or if they share their stories with you, I didn't see any change in my body whatsoever. And it was almost like overnight, everything started to change all at once. And it was like, wow. And if I'd only just kept going, I mean, I did, but I'm just saying, I feel like sometimes people quit before the miracle. What do you, I mean, is that normal, do you think? Or you know more about the body than I do, so.
Actually, I have a story with that, because I think there's points like through the diet that, was I perfect in eating? No, I'm not ever. I don't believe it. It's not perfection, it's progress. And I do believe in having treats and enjoying, you know, wonderful things out there. You know, I want to try other foods because I want to also make mine version of that. So I want to taste what it really is like. So, but that being said, with my diet, there was a point in, let's see, so I started 2018, so that February 2019, I remember falling off the wagon, you know, like falling off the wagon. I haven't had an addiction to cheese. And so I remember eating a lot of cheese. Yeah, I know that was the hardest one. And cheese, of course, I mean, we could do some education here. It's the like most calorie dense thing that you can eat, and the amount of nutrition that you're getting from it. But yeah. So anyways, I just remember kind of falling off the wagon at that point, and I could have quit then. That would have been before the miracle. At this point, I think I had lost 50, 60 pounds. So I was more than halfway. I know that I was over 50 pounds and lost that. I could have quit then. I could have just gone back to the old style. I could have done it, but it was, it was just that love, because it's that mindset. If you have that covered, your mind, and you do have that good, and you remember, it's interesting because like when you're feeling good, I think sometimes you forget how it feels to feel that you feel so good. I don't know how to word this a little bit, but like then like when I do eat something that had oil in it, or a lot, I went to go try some food. I went to Miami actually, and I went to Little Havana, and I had, and it was very little, but I had some of their fried. It was vegan or plant-based food, but it was so rich, and I just felt like whoa, like after, and then I realized what it feels like to be on different foods. So it's interesting because I think a part of it is it's a journey. It's meant to like experience that and then go, oh, wow, I don't like how I feel when I have that type of food. But also, again, it could be that, oh, beat yourself up. That's that mindset. It's going right back to that mindset of like that voice that comes in, that habit of like beating yourself up for failing, when in reality, it's just as easy to cook the next meal. It's the next meal that you can make. It's the next thought that you make. It's just making a pivot during that time. So I believe in enjoying life. I believe in traveling and enjoying it, and experiencing those things. And then sometimes you experience lessons, and then you just go, oh, okay, yes, I remember. And then you get on and you're like, oh, this is why I'm doing it, because I feel so good. So yeah, got right back on to eating, and the weight loss started, and then I hit the 100-pound weight loss in 2020. And I remember like so many people, like they were saying, oh, I'm gaining so much weight. And I'm just looking like, I keep losing. Because, maybe we all had that pause, right? And I was really able to get the mindset like really strong on that. But yeah. And when you mentioned about like looking at her body and like fixing things, no, it's like, I look at it and go, oh, what can I do next? Like, what can we do next with my body? I work with my body. I talk with my body. Like, what do you want to do? Like, even like day to day, like my body loves to move. Like, so sometimes it's just, it wants to walk. It wants to go for a run. Like, I know it talked to it like that, but just really loving on it to the point that like the body, if once we get it clean, once we eat this way, like the body will tell us what we need to eat, what we need to do for it to be healthy. It just does, because you'll just feel this like, wow, I really could go for a run right now. Or, and it's just interesting to be like that, when before, like it would sound like you have to run to lose weight. No, it's not that. My body wants to run now, or it wants to go, it wants to dance. It wants to, be enjoyed. It wants to enjoy the healthy food. It's just great. So yeah, it's just different. Like once, I think in building momentum, you really can stay on it. And yeah, there's going to be dips and falls, but then it's just go back to the basics, go back to telling yourself what you need to hear, go back to putting in your body what it needs to eat. So, and to thrive.
Yeah. And thrive. I think a lot of people think that they are well, and they're lethargic, and it's because they don't have things like cancer necessarily, but that's not thriving. And once you've experienced thriving, it's really hard to go back. And I think especially Americans really in general don't have that experience. And I just love that you use that word, because it's one of my favorite words for health and wellness, is to thrive. It's such an awesome concept, and the absence of disease does not mean that you are healthy. So I know that people tend to not think of it like that, but I always do. So I'm curious if you wouldn't mind sharing a little bit. You obviously like to grow as a person. Is there anything that you do to feed your soul on a daily basis that is just like either a daily ritual or a non-negotiable, anything like that?
Oh yeah. So I believe in incorporating in life that I believe that we came here as a soul, and we were given two gifts. And we were given our mind, our personality. I put those together. Like we were given this like internal system, right? And then we were given our body. And so our soul is here to take care of, that would be that parent that's watching over the mind and the body, right? So you have these two beautiful gifts, and it's like we need to again love that so that we take care of the mind, we take care of the body. And so a couple of things we need to do, well, sorry, with we need to do, but what I've found for me that made me just really do this to get control of my health was to connect with my soul. So there's different ways of doing that for different people. It can be meditation. For me, again, I love to follow what my body wants to do. So, and my soul loves to do a couple things. So there's meditation, there's nature. I have a non-negotiable with nature, and that isn't always daily, especially when I was living in Chicago and it was cold. But I did have a weekly ritual, which was to go to the Garfield Conservatory, where they had a very nice room that had all these ferns, and it was really moist. And so I think that needing that, but really just thriving off of my nature, my weekly nature, is part of the reason why now I'm here in Puerto Rico, is because now I am surrounded by what I saw every single week in Chicago.
Yeah.
So nature is a non-negotiable, at least weekly, or as much if you can get it daily. Now I can. It's beautiful out here. There's birds, there's just beautiful plants, colors, weather, everything is just fabulous. Mountains, the ocean, it's just wonderful. So nature is definitely non-negotiable. Definitely taking time to like meditate, if not breathe, to really get in, to get everything connected again. So, and then another big one that I do, and I like to combine things, is I like to journal. So when I would go to the Garfield Conservatory in Chicago, I would sit down and I would meditate, and then I would journal. And I just found that for me, journaling really helps me to put onto paper and get focused in my thoughts about what it is I want. And when I do that process, I'll just get like a full connection of like, this is the next step, like a knowing. And then there it is. So it's allowing for those moments of knowing to come through. And those are the best ways that I found for me to really do that is meditation, is getting connected with the journaling, with nature. I think nature has a lot of answers for us. And I think that is also why, with food, food was made the way that it was supposed to be ingested. It has everything we need. We just need to eat that and not these things that were made in factories. So
yes, food-like substances. I love to call them food-like substances.
Exactly. That's a great term.
Yeah, it fits. And then I have a guest that's going to be on the show on Thursday, and I love her saying, and I learned this one from her, is she calls it recreational sugar. So anything like cakes and cupcakes, recreational sugar, as opposed to fruit. She's like, I don't do recreational sugar during the day. So I thought that was pretty fun, like way to look at it. I love that you say that about nature, because I have mentioned this before on the show. So if you've heard this before, I apologize. But it's that, I'll be going along, and like you said, it's not every single day that I can get out into nature, but I definitely appreciate nature every single day. But if I ever get to a point where all of a sudden I'm feeling antsy or just a little off, I realize I haven't been outside. And then all of a sudden I go outside and everything just recalibrates, and I'm back to, a higher vibration. So I love that you mentioned that, because people definitely underestimate the power of nature, especially if they live somewhere in like Chicago. And I used to live in New York City, so it's tough there, but you can find it. I mean, you did.
Yeah. So, well, and then what happened is they closed the Garfield Conservatory because of the lockdown and hadn't reopened it. And wow. I think that's, so it was really, it's a very important thing. But I also know that, we still can see the beauty. I just was back in Chicago. I was there. They had a huge snowstorm last week, and snow is so beautiful. And I was at my parents', and they had all the beautiful birds. They have bird feeders up with, there's nature. There was deer, there was cardinals and blue jays, and just all these woodpeckers, 3 different types. I mean, it was just gorgeous. And so, that is something that, like, it's just it just shifts everything when, you know, we have our mindset and we can be so busy. And nature, how I feel it shifts is that you're just actually focused on something that is actually, you're focused in the present, you're focused in the now as you're watching something so beautiful. And I believe that's one of our things that we're meant to do every day, is really feel that level of beauty that is always here for us. It's always here for us to experience. We just need to like open our eyes and see it. So yeah, and
Yes.
it is everywhere. It is. The snow was so beautiful, and it was so much, and it was it was fantastic the way that it silences everything. Like it was just
Yep.
so quiet. It felt like a big cushion got put onto the city. So there's just so much that you can see, you know, with that. So yeah.
No, I love that you mentioned that too, because when I was deciding if I wanted, because I lived in Canada at the time and I wanted to move to New York City, and I wasn't sure I'd be able to handle the cold because I lived on the West Coast. So I went there during the winter, and there was a huge snowstorm, and we literally got a foot of snow. And I just remember being like walking on the street, and it's New York City, and it was silent. And there's a kind of silence that only snow can bring. And that's one of the main reasons why I ended up moving there, was because of that. So yeah, no, that's beautiful. We are almost out of time. We only have about 4 minutes left. I'm just curious, what sort of parting thoughts or wisdom would you love to share with the audience about your passions, about, you know, wellness, about eating whole foods, plant-based, whatever it is that you want to share?
Oh gosh, I just want to share, like, the biggest thing I think is the name of your show, Own Your Wellness. Like really just own it. Like take care of yourself, like, and just really put in your body, like treasure it. It's a gift. Connect with your soul. It's going to help guide you to a life path. Do what you love. Find something that you love and do that daily. Not find something that you love to do and do that daily. If it's hugging a dog, if it is going to nature, one of those things. Find something that you love. Really give yourself that gift every day, and take care of your body. Really, really, really take care of your body. Take care of your mind. Take care of yourself, and don't give up. Don't give up. Don't give up.
Oh, I love that.
It's just the next meal. It's just the next thought. You can shift either one of those at any time. So yeah, don't give up. There's so many resources out there. Any questions, I'm here. Like I can share so much more about, you know, what to eat, how to shop. There's so much, but it's so good, and it just becomes embodied. It becomes so easy because it becomes who you are. And that's why it's different when you say I'm on a diet versus a lifestyle. Like this is just what I do. And you don't even think about it anymore. I just reach for those foods. I don't see the aisles with the processed foods. Like those aren't foods. Like food-like substances. It's like, no, I don't even, like, there's no reason. It's all that I need and enjoy and see. So yeah, that.
Yeah, no, I love that. Real quick, I don't know if you read this book, and it's a really small one, but it's by Michael Pollan, and it's Food Rules. Anyway, it's a real quick, easy read, and it's fantastic for people who are starting out on their own wellness journey. But something he said in there that just really stuck with me was that you can eat as much junk food as you want as long as you make it yourself. And I always thought that was kind of fascinating, because he just was thinking like whole foods, plant-based as well. Are you there? It looks like you froze. Well, it's a good thing we are done with the show. Anyway, that is Dr. Tracy, Chef Tracy Brinkman. Love her so much. It's been such a pleasure. I'm so glad that we got to. Oh, she's back. She's unfrozen. There she is. Froze for a second. I was like, no. I was like, well, at least it's the end. No, I just want to say thank you so much for being on the show today, because it has been so much fun hearing you speak just with such passion and integrity. You can speak of what you know. So thank you so much for being on the show today. I really appreciate you being here.
Thank you. I appreciate it as well. It was wonderful. It was so fun.
Awesome. Yay. Well, I'll see you soon. As I was saying, that was so much fun. Thank you everyone for watching. It's kind of a weird ending, but at least we got to see her one more time before we had to hang up. And I guess I'll see you guys on Thursday. I'm having Dr. Deanna Jordan Crosby on, and she's going to be talking to us about food as well as addiction. Until next time, thank you.